की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत शिष्मार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत शिष्मार श्री भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत शिष्मार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत शिष्मार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद रसत रसत शिष्मार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोरक्षरस बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानुगौरी गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम अक्षय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौरमंडल ब्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री श्री पूर्णमासी श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जय। श्री चैतन्य श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। श्री हरिनाम श्री चैतन्य चरितमृत की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All right, so Dandavat Pranams everybody. After a long time, after I think 5 days, we're finally resuming our Caitanya-bhāgavata reading. So first we will begin with a kirtan. Sorry I'm late. I have so many things to do, so I was trying to check off a few things off my checklist before we started. So I will we'll sing a kirtan. Any kirtan to Mahaprabhu. If anybody has any suggestions, let me know. And then we'll have our reading. I think we're on the last chapter of Adikanda. Yeah, this is the big turning point in Nimāi Paṇḍita's life. This is the way. Anyways, I'll talk more after we sing our kirtan. Okay, Shubhananda Prabhu is asking for Kejabi Bhai. All right, my voice isn't so good right now, so just have to excuse that. But yeah, we'll sing it. Let's do that. Kejabi Bhai Bhava Sindhu Par. Okay. Oh, come on. Why is it not coming? Oh, I know why. All right. I just need to get some water. 1 second. This is by Lochan Das Thakur. Who will go? Who will go, O brothers, across this ocean of material existence? This age of Kali is blessed due to the descent of Śrī Caitanya. A free ferry boat operates at the port of Mai Gauranga. Even the old, the blind, and the crippled are crossing over. Hari Nam is the boat, Shri Guru is the helmsman, and the upraised arms of the Sankirtan party are the oars. All jivas are crossing over by the favorable winds of prem. Only Lochan Das, due to his own fault, has been left behind. Ke jabi re bhava sindhu para tora ke jabi re bhava sindhu para Dhanya Kali Yuge Rache Caitanya-bhāgavata Caitanya Ojabhi Bhavapara Dhanya Kali Yuge Caitanya-bhāgavata Jabi bhava para tora ke jabi re bhava sindhu para tora ke jabi re Sindhu para Amar Gaurangir Ghate Adan Ke Adan Ke Gaurangir Ghate Adan Ke Adan Ke Jarayanda Yaturaya Vadhipar Jarayanda Yaturaya Vadhipar Abadhipar Tora ke jabi re সিন্ধু পার তোরা কে যাবি রে ভাই ভব সিন্ধু পার হরি নামে নৌকা খানি শ্রী গুরু কান্ডারি শ্রী গুরু কান্ডারি ও হরি নামের নৌকা খানি শ্রী গুরু কান্ডারি শ্রী গুরু কান্ডারি সংকীর্তন খেরয়াল সংকীর্তন খেরয়াল তু বাহু পসারি দু বাহু পসারি ও সংকীর্তন খেরয়াল দু বাহু পসারি দু বাহু পসারি তোরা কে যাবি রে ভাই ভব সিন্ধু পার তোরা কে যাবি রে ভাই ভব সিন্ধু পার সব জীব হইল পার প্রেমের বাতাসে আজি প্রেমের বাতাসে সব জীব হইল পার প্রেমের বাতাসে আজি প্রেমের বাতাসে পড়িয়া রহিল লোচন পড়িয়া রহিল ও পড়িয়া রহিল লোচন আপনার দোষে আপনার দোষ ও পড়িয়া রহিল লোচন আপনার দোষে আপনার দোষে কে যাবি রে ভাই ভব সিন্ধু পার তোরা কে যাবি রে ভাই ভব সিন্ধু পার ধন্য কালী যুগে চৈতন্য অবতার যাবি ভব পার ধন্য কালী যুগে চৈতন্য অবতার যাবি ভব পার তোরা যাবি রে ভাই ভব সিন্ধু পার তোরা যাবি রে ভাই ভব সিন্ধু পার হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, oh Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. No, I'm going tomorrow morning. Navadip. Okay, I'm doing the program now. Alright, so now we will do Mangala Charan and begin our, and we'll sing the glories of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata and Vrindavan Das Thakur from Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata. 1 second before I start, I'm just curious all who's here. Let's see. Here on Zoom, there's Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, and Shubhananda Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. And on Facebook and YouTube, there's Ganga Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji, Hari Priya Didi, and Indira Mataji, and a few others. But I only see your name if you write a comment. So, but pranams to all of you, Hare Krishna. So I'll share my screen and we'll begin. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanang pavanebhyo Vaiṣṇavebhyo namo namaha. Ajanulambita bhujo kanakavadato sankirtanaika pitaro kamalaya-taksho Vishvambharo dvijavaro Yugadharma palo Vande jagat priyakaro karunavataro. Namastrikala satyaya Jagannatha sutaya cha Sabhrityaya saputraya sakalatraya te namaha. Avatirno sakarunyo parichinno sarishvaro Śrī Krishna Caitanya Nityanando Dvau Bhrataro Bhaje. Sajayati Vishuddha Vikrama Kanakabha Kamalayate Kshana Varajanu Vilambishar Bhujo Bahudha Bhakti Rasabhinartaka Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandro Jayati Jayati Kirtis Tasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhrityas Tasya Vishveshamurte Jayati Jayati Nrityang Tasya Sarva Priyanam Adeshi Chaitanya Priya Goshtir Charane Ashesha Prakare Mor Danda Paraname Tabe Vando Shri Krishna Chaitanya Maheshwar Navadipe Avatar Nama Vaiṣṇavas Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvam Nayamang Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kshiptashtaka Titaranga Madhe Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. The glories of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata and Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur from Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 8, verses 33 to 42. Ayore Mura Loka Shuno Chaitanya Manga Chaitanya Mahima Jate Jani Beshaka Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kohe Vedyas Chaitanya Lila Ravyas Vrindavana Das Vrindavana Dasa Koilo Chaitanya Manga Jahara Shabane Nashe Sarvaya Manga Chaitanya Nitar Jate Janiye Mahima Jate Jani Krishna Bhakti Siddhanter Sima Bhagavate Jata Bhakti Siddhanter Sar Likhiya Chen Iha Jani Koriya Udhar Chaitanya Mangal Shune Jadi Pashandi Javan Sheho Maha Vaiṣṇava Hoy Tatakan Amanushe Rachite Nare Aiche Granta Dhanya Vrindavana Dasa Mukhe Vakta Śrī Caitanya Vrindavana Dasa Mukhe Vakta Śrī Caitanya Vrindavana Dasa Pore Koti Namaskar Aiche Granta Korite Hotarila Sansar Anarayani Chaitanya Uchishta Bhajan Atar Garbe Jamila Shidasa Vrindavan Tar Ki Arbhuta Chaitanya Charita Varnan Jahara Shabane Shuddha Koilo Tribhuvan Shahaje Vichitra Madhur Chaitanya Vihar Vrindavana Dasa Mukhe Amrite Dhar. By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet, and when they are described by Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Jai Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai, Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki Jai. The Gaudiya Bhashya commentary of Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Hari Bol, everybody. So, there's been a 5-day gap in our reading of Caitanya-bhāgavata. So, it'd be a good time for us to recap. I made our readings for today's reading. I think will be somewhat short. I think it's under 4,000 words. And then tomorrow I'm going to be traveling to Navadvip. I'm leaving here at Gopinath Bhavan at 5 o'clock in the morning, and so I won't be able to do the reading. So I'm going to pre-record a Caitanya-bhāgavata reading, but I'm only going to read very little, only like 2,000 words. So like less than half of what we normally read. And then I'm going to pre-record another video because I'll be on the train the day after tomorrow as well. And I'll also read just a little bit, just so that we keep it going, keep the flow of Caitanya-bhāgavata going, not stop right in the middle of a chapter. And yeah, so let's look through. Let's see. To recap the previous chapters, let's look at the topics in Caitanya-bhāgavata. From there's a chart, or not a chart, a list. It's almost like a table of contents. Actually, we could look at the English table of no, I can't, because that will mess up everything. Or maybe it won't. Let's see. Oh, and I see some more devotees joined, so pranams to all of you. Oh, Hari Bol, Kishore Prabhu. Pranams. Okay, so let's open this up. Alright, so here are the chapters that we read so far, the topics in each chapter. First chapter is Summary of Lord Gaura's Pastimes. Second chapter was the Lord's Appearance. Third chapter of Adikanda is Calculation of the Lord's Horoscope. Fourth chapter is Name-Giving Ceremony, the Lord's Childhood Pastimes, and Thieves Kidnap the Lord. Then the fifth chapter is Eating the Mendicant Brahman's Offerings. Then sixth chapter is the Lord Begins Studying and His Childhood Mischief. Seventh chapter is Shri Vishwarup Takes Sannyas. Eighth chapter is the Disappearance of Jagannath Mishra. Ninth chapter is Nityananda's Childhood Pastimes and Travels to Holy Places. Then 10th chapter is Marriage with Sri Lakshmi Priya. Then 11th chapter is Meeting with Sri Ishwarapuri. Okay, I was wrong. I was saying that, well, maybe I'm not wrong, I don't know. For some reason I thought after the Lord goes to meet with Ishwarapuri, that's when the Madhya Kanda starts, because then he becomes transformed, and then that's the beginning of his Sankirtan pastimes, right? But maybe I'm getting this wrong. Let's find out. Unless Kishore Krishna Prabhu, do you know? Well, actually, yeah.
Mahaprabhu first met Ishwarapuri in Navadvip. Then later he took Diksha in Gaya.
But when does Madhya Kanda start?
It starts after the Lord's transformation.
Yeah, so that would be after this chapter 11, right?
No, it comes later.
Oh, it comes later, okay. Oh, because he doesn't get initiated at this time when he meets with him in Navadvip. Okay.
Very good, Prabhu. I think when Mahaprabhu returns from Gaya, then Madhyakanda start, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. That's when he becomes Bhavuk Nimāi. Changes from Pandit Nimāi to Bhavuk Nimāi, right? And then, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Alright, so chapter 11, Meeting with Sri Ishwarapuri. This chapter describes various subjects like the scholastic pastimes. Oh wait, maybe should we just read the few verses at the end. After the Lord marries Lakshmi Priya. Yeah, I'm just going to go a few verses back. just so that we can get the flow. Okay.
I can recap it if you want.
Yeah. Okay, why don't you do that?
Well, Vrindavan Das Thakur, he started off the chapter of mentioning how the Lord became a very great scholar, and how he would tease everyone, and then how he would set up arguments and then defeat those arguments. And he was making fun of Murari Gupta, done like, "Hey Murari, you're a physician. What do you know about sound grammar?" And Murari said, "Okay, let's argue then." And so Mahaprabhu started arguing with Murari Gupta, and Mahaprabhu defeated him. And then Murari Gupta decided that, oh, I will study under Nimāi. So, and someone asked, "Aren't you ashamed to study under a young boy like Nimāi?" And Murari Gupta said, "Who would be ashamed of studying under Nimāi Paṇḍita?" And then Vrindavan Das Thakur describes how Nimāi Paṇḍita went to go take his bath one morning. And then he saw the daughter of Vallabhacharya, Sri Lakshmi Priya Devi. And Nimāi Paṇḍita recognized her as Rukmini. And they both the Lord and his consort recognized each other. They offered I think Lakshmi Priya offered obeisances, and then they looked at each other eye to eye, and then they left. Then Sri Vanamali Pandit came to Shachimata, and Vanamali Pandit, and he asked Shachimata, Nimāi is now out of a marriageable age. He should get married now. And Shachimata said, Nimāi just recently lost his father a couple of years back, and now he's engaged in studying. He should continue studying right now. And then Vanamali Pandit was like, what? And then he left, and by providence, he met Mahaprabhu on the way. And Vanamali Pandit, and he told Mahaprabhu, I just spoke to your mother, Shachimata, about your marriage, about that you should get married. I don't know why she refused though. And then Nimāi Paṇḍita, he just paused, and then they continued speaking for a little bit. And then Nimāi Paṇḍita said, no, it's okay, you can make some arrangement. And so Nimāi Paṇḍita went back and told Shachimata, no, why did you object to Vanamali Pandit's proposal? Also. And then Shachimata said, okay, if you want to get married, no problem. And so Vanamali Pandit, he went and he approached the father of Lakshmi Priya, Vallabhacharya, and asked him, like, Nimāi Paṇḍita is a very qualified personality to be your daughter's husband. And Vallabhacharya said, oh, yes, I have no objection, but there's one thing. I cannot give a dowry. I'm very poor. The only thing I can give is like 5 haritaki fruits. And you mentioned he was very specific, 5 haritaki fruits.
And my friend Chandrasekhar let me know haritaki fruit is betel. Yeah.
Betel?
Yeah.
Oh. And then after that, if I remember correctly, the marriage ceremony was performed. They did the astrology and everything. Everything was good, and then the Lord got married, and it was a grand festival, and everyone was amazed, and everyone was glorifying them, Gaur Narayan and Lakshmi Priya Devi. And some said they looked like Lakshmi Narayan. Others said that they looked like Shiva and Parvati, and others said that they looked like Cupid and his wife. Kavandev and Rati?
Rati, yeah. Yes.
And then at the end, Vrindavan Das Thakur wrote that the marriage, not that, but like the things of the like conditioned souls goes like the material of like pastimes, the conditioned souls is like it's complete Maya. But the Lord's pastimes are completely sweet and transcendental and wonderful.
Yes. Wonderful.
In the previous verse, Vrindavan, I think the previous verse before that, Vrindavan Das Thakur said, who can understand the Lord? Even Lakshmi Devi cannot understand him.
Yes, I'm just looking at the translation. It says, until the Lord himself allows one to know him, even Lakshmi has no power to understand him. Yes, that's correct. Wow, that was a great recap. The Vedas, Puranas, and other scriptures confirm that only one who is favored by the Lord can understand him. And just one other, just small thing. So there's a little description of the marriage also. So when the couple arrived at Nimai's house in the evening, they were festively greeted by dancing, singing, and the playing of musical instruments. So when they returned home, Sachi Devi with some other Brahmin ladies then jubilantly welcomed her daughter-in-law home. Thereafter, Mother Sachi satisfied the brahmanas, the musicians and dancers with money, cloth, and sweet words. And then there's the results for hearing this beautiful pastime. Whoever hears these auspicious topics of the Lord's marriage is never entangled in worldly life. With Lakshmi at the side of the Lord, the house of Sachi appeared like Vaikuntha, the most effulgent abode. Such a wonderful effulgence constantly emanated from the house that Mother Sachi could not even see properly. There's such a wonderful effulgence she couldn't see properly. Sometimes Sachi saw flames of fire at the side of her son, but when she looked again, they were gone. When she sometimes smelled the fragrance of a lotus flower, she was utterly astonished. Sachi thought, I can understand the reason for this. This girl is a plenary portion of Lakshmi Devi. That is why I see this effulgence and smell the fragrance of lotus flowers. Now we may not face any poverty like before. Otherwise, where has everything come from since this daughter-in-law, Lakshmi, entered my house? In this way, Mother Sachi had various thoughts as the Lord almost, but not quite, manifests himself. Almost, but not quite. Alright, so now we begin chapter 11, meeting with Śrī Ishvara Puri. Reading the Kathasar, the summary by Shishimad Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. I don't think it's written anywhere, but that's what Srivas told me, and I'm sure he got that from Sripad Bodhayan Maharaj. I'm guessing. Okay. This chapter describes various subjects like the scholastic pastimes of Nimāi Paṇḍita, Mukunda's chanting the names of Krishna and Advaita's assembly, Nimai's sporting pastimes with Mukunda, the godlessness of Nadia, the arrival of Ishwar Puri in Navadvip, his meeting with Advaita Prabhu, his accepting lunch and discussing topics of Krishna at Gaura's house. He teaches his own book, Śrī Krishna Lilamrita, to Śrī Gadadhar Pandit, Nimai's comments on that book, and enjoying topics of Krishna with Śrī Puripad. Śrī Gaurachandra, the husband of Saraswati, wandered throughout Navadvip with thousands of students while remaining intoxicated from scholastic mellows. Throughout Navadvip, no one other than Gangadas Pandit could properly understand Nimāi Paṇḍita's explanations. According to their mundane mentality, the materialists saw Nimāi Paṇḍita in various ways. The atheists saw him as Yamaraj personified. The materialists saw him as Cupid personified. And the learned scholars saw him as Brihaspati personified. Meanwhile, the Vaiṣṇavas eagerly waited with the following hope. They prayed, when will the Lord manifest devotional service to Vishnu within this world, which is devoid of devotion to Vishnu? Many people came to study in Navadvip, which was the main educational center. Many Vaishnava residents of Chattagram came and lived in Navadvip in order to study and reside on the bank of the Ganga. In the afternoon, all the pure devotees would gather at the assembly of Śrī Advaita. All the Vaishnavas in the assembly of Advaita felt great happiness in their hearts on hearing the glories of Lord Hari chanted by Mukunda, who is dear to all the Vaishnavas. For this reason, the Lord was also very pleased at heart with Mukunda. And we're going to stop reading at this point. Then tomorrow, I'm going to pre-record a video of reading from this point. As soon as Nimāi saw Mukunda, he would challenge him with questions and logic, and both would then engage in loving debate. Nimāi would also challenge other devotees, headed by Śrīvas. Fearing that Nimāi would challenge them, they would all run away from him. Having renounced topics not related to Krishna, the devotees did not love to hear anything except Krishna Katha. And Nimāi did not ask them anything other than questions on logic. One day, Nimāi Paṇḍita was coming on the main... I think that might be where we finish for tomorrow's reading. I think. And then the day after tomorrow we'll read. One day, Nimāi Paṇḍita was coming on the main road with some students. At that time, Mukunda saw Nimāi from a distance and immediately tried to escape from his vision. On the pretext of describing the reason for Mukunda's behavior, Nimāi narrated his and his devotees' glories to Govinda, who is his servant and doorkeeper, saying, "I have not yet revealed the topics of devotional service to Krishna. That is why Mukunda ran away from me. But he will not do this for long, because I will manifest such pure devotional service and Vaiṣṇava characteristics that even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva will come to my doorstep and roll on the ground." Thereafter, the author describes the godless atmosphere of Navadvip at that time. Although the devotees were always engaged in chanting the names of Krishna, the people of Nadia were so averse to Krishna and maddened by enjoyable objects like wealth and children, that as soon as they heard the chanting of Krishna's names by devotees, particularly the four brothers headed by Śrīvas, they ridiculed and teased them. Hearing the blasphemous words from the sinful atheists, the Vaiṣṇavas felt great distress within their hearts and always thought, "When will Śrī Krishna Chandra appear within this world and eradicate the dearth of kirtan?" When the Vaiṣṇavas informed Śrī Advaita about the criticism and blasphemous words of the atheists, Acharya Prabhu vowed, "I will soon induce Krishna, who gives pleasure to the hearts of the devotees, to manifest here in Navadvip." By the words of Śrī Advaita, the distress of the Vaiṣṇavas was mitigated. Meanwhile, as Nimāi increased Shachi's joy by remaining absorbed in the pleasure of study, Śrī Ishwar Puri one day arrived incognito. So this is what we'll read. That's where we'll end with the day after tomorrow when I'm on the train, the pre-recorded video. And then when I'm back in Navadvip, we'll all read together from this point onwards. Meanwhile, as Nimāi increased Shachi's joy by remaining absorbed in the pleasure of study, Śrī Ishwar Puri one day arrived incognito at Śrī Advaita's house in Navadvip. By seeing his wonderful effulgence, Advaita Acharya understood that Ishwar Puri was a Vaiṣṇava sannyasi. When Mukunda sang a song about Krishna and Advaita's assembly, the naturally deep ocean of love for Krishna in the pure heart of Ishwar Puri overflowed. Thereupon, everyone came to know that his devoted sannyasi was Ishwar Puri. One day, as Śrī Gaurasundar was returning from teaching, by providence, he met Ishwar Puri on the way. The Lord, who is Jagat Guru, displayed honor to his devotees by immediately offering obeisances to his servant. Seeing Nimai's wonderful effulgence, Ishwar Puri inquired about his identity and the subject of his studies. Nimāi answered all of Ishwar Puri's inquiries and then respectfully brought him home for lunch. After Shachi Devi cooked and offered foodstuffs to Krishna and fed Ishwar Puri began to discuss topics of Krishna with Nimāi. While discussing Krishna Katha, Ishwar Puri became overwhelmed with love of God. Ishwar Puri stayed in Navadvip at the house of Śrī Gopinath Acharya for a few months, and Nimāi regularly went to see him. Seeing the devotion of Gadadhar Pandit, who is renounced from his childhood, Ishwar Puri began to affectionately teach him his book, Śrī Krishna Lilamrita. Every evening, after studying and teaching, Nimāi went to offer obeisances to Ishwar Puri. One day, Ishwar Puri requested Nimāi Paṇḍita to point out the mistakes in his Śrī Krishna Lilamrita and indicated his desire to correct the mistakes under Nimai's guidance. Hearing his words, the Lord condemned mundane scholarship and spoke the following invaluable nectarian words. Nimāi said, "First of all, this book is composed by such a pure devotee as Puripad, and moreover, it is full of topics about Krishna. Therefore, whoever finds fault in this book is certainly an offender. The poetry of a pure devotee, in whatever form it may be, is always pleasing to Krishna. There is no doubt about it. The Supreme Lord never sees any grammatical faults in the statements of his devotees, for he is controlled by devotion and he accepts the sentiments of his devotees. A person who finds faults in the statements of a devotee is himself full of faults. No one is so audacious as to find faults in the descriptions of the Supreme Lord by a pure devotee like Puripad." So that's what the Lord said then. But Ishwar Puri repeatedly requested Nimāi to point out the faults in his book. In this way, Ishwar Puri regularly spent an hour or two with Nimāi discussing various subjects. After hearing a verse from Ishwar Puri's book one day, Nimāi Paṇḍita sportingly said, "The verb in this verse should be parasmaipadi instead of atmanepadi." There's a footnote, but I'm not sure if it will take us there. No, it won't. Anyways. Another day, when Nimāi came back, Ishvara Puri said, "The verb that you have not accepted as atmanepadi, I have accepted as atmanepadi." In order to increase the glories and display the victory of his servant, the Lord did not point out any further faults. In this way, after spending some time enjoying educational pastimes with Nimāi, Ishvara Puri left Navadvip to continue sanctifying the holy places of India. Oh, and one second. My friend, he said that what is the first one? First one is parasmaipadi, means active voice, and atmanepadi means middle voice. Right? I got that right? Or was it the other way around? Atmanepadi means active voice, and the other one means middle voice. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Now, beginning from... let me just quickly check. What verse are we reading up to? Today we'll be reading up to verse 27. Okay. Haribol Mahi Bharata Prabhu. And Haribol Sudevi Didi Dandavat Pranams. Wow, wonderful that we have Mahi Bharata Prabhu with us. Hare Krishna. Mahi Bharata Prabhu is the great scholar in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and all of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Okay. Jaya Jaya Maha Maheshwara Gora Chandra Balya Leelai Shri Vidya Vilaser Kendra. All glories to Shri Gaurachandra, the Lord of Lords. In his childhood, he was the reservoir of scholastic pastimes. Gaudiya Bhashya by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. The phrase Vidya Vilaser Kendra is explained as follows. Oh, and I had it right the first time. The Parasmaipad means active voice, and the Atmanepad means a middle voice. Yeah, okay. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase Vidya Vilaser Kendra is explained as follows. And Vidya Vilaser Kendra means, here it's translated as, he was the reservoir of scholastic pastimes. Kendra usually means center, right? And Vidya Vilaser, he was the center of Vidya Vilas. Okay. So this is how Srila Saraswati Thakur explains this. The lack of proper philosophy or knowledge is called avidya. Although some people claim that to achieve knowledge of an incomplete object is vidya, real knowledge is found only in knowledge of the Supreme Lord, who is complete. Although knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma aspects of the Absolute Truth is part of spiritual knowledge, in a comparative study of spiritual knowledge, they are both limited and incomplete. Knowledge about Brahman and knowledge about Paramatma is limited and incomplete, even though it's spiritual. The age for primary education of an ordinary human being is known as balya, or childhood. The enactment of educational pastimes that we find in the pastimes of Gaurasundar at that age are like the childhood activities of the spiritual world. The arrangement for learning and teaching children's literatures, like grammar, the principal subject of language books, is simply based on giving and taking mundane knowledge. With the help of these children's literatures, one can enter into and realize knowledge regarding transcendental sound. Although different languages born from the research of mankind are meant for bringing one to knowledge of the Supreme, they are not actually directing one to knowledge of the Supreme. Ordinary people could not observe even a tinge of spiritual education in the educational pursuits of Śrī Gaurasundar in his childhood pastimes. Since Gaurasundar concealed himself at that time, many people had no opportunity to see him as the central figure of all spiritual knowledge. Although the objects of the external world, which act as servants of sensual knowledge, did not benefit the living entities through Śrī Gaurasundar's studying grammar or teaching language, from the intellectual point of view, he was nevertheless certainly present in each word as the Supersoul. All right, verse 2. Emate gupta bhabe ache dvijaraj adhyayan bina ar nahi kono kaj. Isn't it adhyayan? Anyways. In this way, as Gaur, the best of the Brahmanas, confidentially lived in Navadvip, he had no engagement other than studying. Jiniya kandarpa koti rupa manohar prati ange nirupama lavanya sundar ajanu lambita bhuja kamala nayan adhare tambula divya vasa paridhan. His form was as enchanting as millions of cupids. Each of his limbs was incomparably charming. His arms extended to his knees, and his eyes were like the petals of a lotus. He chewed betel nut and dressed divinely. Gaudiya Bhashya. The words adhare tambul, chewed betel nut, are explained as follows. On seeing Śrī Gaurasundar's wonderfully sweet beauty, which defeats that of millions of cupids, his matchless effulgence emanating from his bodily limbs, his long arms that stretched to his knees, his lotus eyes, his fine dress, and betel nuts between his lips, the conditioned souls who have been awarded ugly material bodies, short arms, and harsh eyes, and who desire sense gratification, they consider Śrī Gaurasundar as attached to material enjoyment and intoxication, and possessing a material body like themselves. But if they understand the extraordinary glories of Śrī Gaurasundar, it will help the envious living entities realize that their material bodies, which are fit to be eaten by dogs and jackals, and their minds, which are attached to misconceptions, are abominable. Although Śrī Gaurasundar accepted innumerable items of enjoyment, such as betel nuts, he instructed everyone for their eternal benefit to engage each and every item in the service of Sri Krishna, who is the only object of all enjoyment. In other words, he taught that if living entities eligible for being controlled by Maya enjoy insignificant material sense objects, their inauspiciousness is guaranteed, for these items are eternally prescribed as ingredients for the service of the Supreme Lord. Although the display of such pastimes by Śrī Gaurasundar is meant to be seen and analyzed by self-controlled sadhaks, the eternally envious ignorant observers are simply bewildered as a reward for their foolishness. Since Śrī Gaurasundar is situated on the highest platform of the Absolute Truth, his exhibition of renunciation pastimes was not intended to protect himself from the mundane difficulties imposed by non-devotional endeavors, like those of conditioned souls who desire self-control and liberation, and who display an indifferent lifestyle in order to remain detached or separate from material objects. Rather, he empowered the most fortunate persons to understand the important truth that in the characteristics and personality of the Supreme Lord, the performance of such pastimes is not at all abominable or faulty. Oh, Nurihari Prabhu says, Dandavat pranams, Mahibharata Prabhu. Okay, verse 5. Sarvadaya parihasa murti vidya bole sahasra paduva shange jabe prabhu chale. As the Lord walked with thousands of students, by the strength of his knowledge, he entertained everyone with his sharp wit. With his vidya. 6. Sarvanava dvipe brahme tribhuvana pati pustaker rupe kore priya saraswati. Vishvambar, the Lord of the three worlds, traveled all over Navadvip, holding in his hand his beloved Saraswati in the form of a book. Gaudiya Bhashya. In the form of books, Mahalakshmi Narayani, the goddess of speech, always remained in the lotus hands of her Lord, Gaur Narayan, and thus fulfilled the meaning of the Lord's name, Vachaspati, the husband of the goddess of speech. Seven. Navadvipe heno nahi panditer naam je asya bujhibeka prabhur vyakhyan. There is no scholar throughout Navadvip who could understand Nimai's explanations. Shabe eka Ganga dasa mahabhagyavan jar thai prabhu kore vidyar adan. The Lord discussed his explanations only with the most fortunate Gangadas Pandit. Nobody else could understand him. 9. Shakala sangsari dekhi bole dhanya dhanya e nandan jahar tahar kon dainya. All the materialistic people said, "The parents of this boy are certainly glorious. What can they be lacking?" That's interesting. Tahar kon dainya. I wonder if there's another meaning for the word dainya, because usually it means humility, but maybe in this context, it means lacking. I'm just curious, the Bengali dictionary. One second. Dainya. Where is it? Okay, so the word dainya means poverty, need, want, misery, indulgence, penury. I don't know what penury means. Affliction, distress, humbleness. Okay, so we're used to hearing it as humbleness, but here it means poverty, need, want. What do they lack? Cool. So I just like to get more of a, when I see words like that, I like to get a better understanding. Jatika prakriti dekhe madana samana pashandi dekhaye jeno jama vidyaman. All the ladies considered the Lord to be as attractive as Cupid, and the atheists considered him as death personified. Gaudiya Bhashya. The lady saw him as Madan, and the Pashandis, the atheists, saw him as Jama, the Lord of Death. Gaudiya Bhashya. In this material world, the men are enjoyers and the women are the objects of enjoyment. In other words, the women are enjoyed by the men and the men are enjoyed by the women. An enjoyer enjoys his objects of enjoyment with his senses. Both the male and female enjoy material objects through their gyanendriyas, or knowledge-acquiring senses, and their karmendriyas are their working senses. Gaura Sundar is directly Lord Krishna. Therefore, he is the abode of all beauty, surpassing millions of cupids. Gaura Sundar is never an object of enjoyment for mundane women. That is why he cannot be the object of worship for the Gaur Nagaris. There's article after article after article in the Gaudiya on this topic. This is something Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur really emphasized in his preaching, like fighting against this, crushing this conception of Gaura Nagari. When a living entity becomes self-realized, the Madan Mohan form of Gaura Sundar manifests within his heart. Wow. When the living entity becomes self-realized, then Gaura Sundar manifests as Madan Mohan within his heart, who is the enchanter of Cupid. Although the conditioned souls who identify themselves as women may consider Gaura Sundar as an object of enjoyment, Gaur Hari does not fulfill their prayers. The moods of master and servant are present in this material world. For the living entities to think themselves as masters of material nature rather than considering themselves the servant of the Supreme Lord is an impediment in their constitutional duties of devotional service. Shri Gaura Sundar has personally displayed to the living entities the prime example of how to be a servant of the Supreme Lord, and thus removes the enjoying mood from their conditioned minds. That is why the followers of Gaur Hari cannot accept him as Nagar, the enjoyer of women. Now in Mahaprabhu's pastimes, there's only Dasya Ras in relation to Mahaprabhu. No other ras, only Dasya Ras. Lord Gaura Sundar never demonstrated that he was under the control of any other material conditions in his pastimes. But even if someone out of great misfortune forgets that he is the eternal servant of the servitor of... if someone forgets out of great misfortune that he is the eternal servant of the servitor God, Mahaprabhu, and he thinks himself to be the object of service, Shri Gaura Sundar still awakens his service attitude towards Gaur Krishna by removing such evil propensities. Oh wait, it's saying if someone sees that himself as the eternal servant. Okay. Yeah, okay, got it. Okay, 11. Paṇḍita shakala dekhe jeno brihaspati e mata dekhe shabe jar jeno mati. All the learned scholars considered him equal to Brihaspati. In this way, everyone appreciated the Lord according to their own mentality. So let's just see. The lady saw the Lord as Cupid, the atheist saw the Lord as death personified, and the learned scholars considered him equal to Brihaspati. These are different ways that the people saw the Lord. 12. Dekhi Vishvambhar Roop Shakala Vaiṣṇava Harisha Vishada Hoy Mone Bhave Shab. Seeing Vishvambar's attractive form, the Vaishnavas felt both jubilation and lamentation. They felt harisha, they felt happy, jubilation, but they also felt vishad simultaneously. Seeing the Lord. And that's why I named our reading, like I gave the topic of from this verse. Verses 13 to 14. Heno devya sharire na hoy Krishna ras, ki koribe vidyai hoile kalavas. mohito Vaiṣṇavasa prabhur mayai, dekhiya o tabu keho dekhite na pai. They thought, although he has such a divine body, he has no attraction for Krishna. What good is his education if he simply wastes his time? All the Vaishnavas were bewildered by the internal potency of the Lord, so even though they saw the Lord, they did not understand him. Gaudiya Bhashya. For persons on the path of the ascending process, the Aroha Pantha, education continues up to the time of death. The knowledge that a living entity acquires during his lifetime does not help him in his next life. By seeing that Gaurasundar was as learned as Brihaspati and as beautiful as Cupid, ordinary people thought that such transcendental beauty and extraordinary knowledge would remain only for the duration of his life, that is, that they were temporary. But the opulences of Krishna are actually eternal. They thought that if the opulences seen in Gaurasundar were those of a devotee rather than those of the absolute independent form of Krishna, who enjoys pastimes out of his own sweet will, it would particularly increase the happiness of the devotees. By the desire of the Lord, the Vaishnavas also did not understand at that time that Lord Gauravhari is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Śrī Krishna is an ocean of transcendental pastimes. By his own will, the influence of Yogamaya neither manifested Gaura's covered pastimes nor gave an opportunity to the Vaishnavas to understand that his Gaur form was that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Though they saw him, they nevertheless did not see or understand his real form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ordinary conditioned souls had no right at all to perceive the Lord, who is engaged in covered pastimes. One second, just checking the comments. Okay. Verse 15. Shakshate o Prabhu dekhi keho bole ki karje goaun kala tumi vidya bhole. Although they directly saw the Lord, some of the devotees said to him, "Why do you waste your time in the fruitless pursuit of knowledge?" Gaudiya Bhashya. In order to assist in the covered pastimes of the Lord, the Vaishnavas, by the will of the Lord, acted as ignorant people induced by material knowledge, as they continually endeavored to convert Gaur into a servant of the Supreme Lord. Besides giving indirect hints, they also directly told Nimāi not to remain absorbed in the cultivation of useless knowledge, but to worship Hari, for that was beneficial. 16. Shuniya hasen Prabhu Shevaker Bakye Prabhu bole tomra shikha o mor bhagye. The Lord smiled on hearing his servants speak like this, and he replied, "I am fortunate to have you instruct me." Gaudiya Bhashya. In reply, the Lord said, "It is my great fortune that you are all instructing me to become a devotee of Hari." He no mate Prabhu gonga yena vidyarase sevaka chinite nare anya jana kise. As the Lord thus passed his time in scholastic pastimes, his servants could not recognize him, so what to speak of others? Gaudiya Bhashya. By the will of the Lord, and to assist in his covered pastimes, his eternal associates did not understand his glories, but rather acted as ignorant. When the eternal associates of the Lord could not recognize him, then how could ordinary materialists, who are expert in fruitive activities, know him? 18. Chaturdik hoite loka navadvipe jai, navadvipe porile she vidya rasa pai. People came from all over India to study in Navadvip, for if one studied in Navadvip, he got a taste for education. 19. Chatigram nivasi o aneke tathai Poren Vaiṣṇavas sab rohen Gangai. Many Vaishnavas came from Chattagram to live on the bank of the Ganga and study in Navadvip. Gaudiya Bhashya. In order to study, the residents of the distant village of Chattagram resided on the bank of the Ganga in Navadvip. Shabe janmiyachen prabhur agyai Shabe virakta Krishna bhakta sarvathai. They were all renounced devotees of Krishna, and they had taken birth by the order of the Lord. All these devotees, coming from Chattagram especially, right? Gaudiya Bhashya. By the desire of Gaurasundar, all the devotees who had appeared in this world at that time became totally indifferent to material objects, and they constantly engaged in worshipping Krishna. Anyonye mili shabe poriya shuniya koren govinda charcha nibrite boshiya. After school hours, they regularly met together in a solitary place to discuss topics of Lord Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. Not receiving any encouragement for worshipping Krishna from Śrī Gaurasundar, the Vaishnavas at that time cultivated Krishna consciousness in seclusion. Wherever there is no direct manifestation of the Supreme Lord or his dear associate, Nirjan Bhajan, or solitary worship of the Lord, is appropriate. Otherwise, it is prescribed that one should engage in Hari Kirtan only under the guidance of the Supreme Lord or his devotee. Sarva Vaishnavera Priya Mukunda Ekanta Mukunder Gane Drabe Shakala Mahanta. Śrī Mukunda was most dear to all the Vaishnavas. Their hearts all melted when he sang. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those who are detached from material enjoyment and engaged in worshipping the Supreme Lord are called Mahantas, or Vaishnavas. On hearing Mukunda singing about the pastimes of Lord Hari, the hearts of such great souls melted. Vikad hoile asi bhagavata gan advaita sabhai shabe hoyen milan. In the afternoon, all the devotees regularly met in the house of Advaita Prabhu. Gaudiya Bhashya. After completing their day's work, the devotees gathered in the afternoons at the house of Advaita Acharya Prabhu in Sri Mayapur. Since Sri Gaurasundar had not yet manifested his pastimes as the shelter of the devotees, Sri Advaita Prabhu was the shelter of all Vaishnavas. He was the shelter of all Vaishnavas until before Sri Gaurasundar had that position, manifested that position. Jai Matra Mukunda Gayen Krishna Gita Heno Nahi Jani Keva Pore Kon Bhita. As soon as Mukunda would begin singing about Krishna, everyone there fell to the ground in ecstatic love. Gaudiya Bhashya. After hearing Mukunda sing about Krishna, all the listeners became overwhelmed with love of God and fell on the ground here and there. Keho kande, keho hase, keho nritya kore, gora gari jai, keho vastra na sambare. Some of them cried, some laughed, and others danced. The clothes of some persons scattered as they rolled on the ground. Gaudiya Bhashya. The words vastra nasambare indicate that they were unable to keep their clothes in order. Hunkara koroye keho malashat mare, keho giya mukunder dui paye dhore. Someone roared as he challenged the agents of Maya, and someone else caught hold of Mukunda's feet. Okay, this is the last verse for today. 27. Emata utheya paramananda sukha, na jane Vaiṣṇavas sab arakona dukha. In this way, the Vaishnavas enjoyed great ecstasy and forgot all forms of distress. Okay, well, maybe let's end with this verse. Prabhu o Mukunda prati boro sukhi mane, dekhile Mukundere dhoren apane. The Lord was most satisfied with Mukunda. Whenever the Lord saw him, he would stop him. Then what would he do? We'll find out tomorrow in our reading tomorrow. This is when he starts challenging Mukunda and other devotees like Srivas Thakur. So we'll read all about that tomorrow. The Lord would then ask Mukunda for some clarification on a point, and when Mukunda answered him, the Lord would say, "Wrong! Kichu nahe." No, there's nothing. And immediately an argument would begin. So we'll read those sweet pastimes tomorrow. All right. So today we get to end a little bit earlier than usual. And tomorrow we'll end a lot earlier than usual. I have to keep my reading under an hour because that's the only, with the pre-recorded videos, that's the limit they give me for streaming is 1 hour. So I'll stop at 8 a.m. I'll go from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. tomorrow instead of 8:30 like usual. Right. Just thinking of a melody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Sachinandan Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachinandan Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Shila Gaur Kishoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Vaiṣṇavas Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Nugakoriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhattadasa Raghunath Sharda Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Swarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishtabhradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata Ki Jai Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai The Gaudiya Bhashya Commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai all the associates of Mahaprabhu Ki Jai the Vidya Vilas of Nimāi Paṇḍita Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti, what is it? Vidya Vilasar Kendra Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. Kishore Prabhu, Nri Hari Prabhu. Oh, Bhavatarani Mataji's internet cut out. Shubhananda Prabhu. Let's see who's there on Facebook. Indira Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranams. Sudevi Didi. Mahi Bharata Prabhu, Dandavat pranams Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Then Hari Priya Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, and Ganga Mataji. Dandavat pranams to all of you. I'll see you all tomorrow to read about the Lord challenging the devotees like Mukunda and Srivas Thakur. I'll read that all tomorrow. And I'll see you tomorrow in my pre-recorded video while I'm on the train. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining, and Jai Shri Radhe, Hare Krishna. Oh wait, before I go, Kishore, Nri Hari Prabhu, do you have anything that you wanted to, Shubhananda Prabhu, do you have anything that any thoughts on your mind, anything that you wanted to discuss?
Well, Vrindavan Das Thakur, he wrote that everyone was entertained by the Lord's wit, by Mahaprabhu's wit. It reminded me of how Srila Prabhupada was always very straightforward, right, and always get a very satisfactory answer, like straight away.
Yep.
Like once he was talking to one Christian scholar, and Srila Prabhupada was saying that one should chant the Lord's name, that one should chant the name of God. And if you don't have yours, well, how come you don't just take our name of God, Krishna? There is no loss, only gain. And the scholar said, well, because I don't know if it's the right name. For me, God has no name. And then Prabhupada said, so why does Jesus say, hallowed be thy name?
Bam! Checkmate.
Checkmate. And another time there was a whatchamacallit, there was an Australian social worker, and he was asking Prabhupada, like, what are your thoughts that only a very small percentage of the population have joined your movement? And Prabhupada said, no. Stars in comparison to the moon is nothing in percentage. But the moon is much greater than all these rascal stars.
Wow, I love Srila Prabhupada. So bold and direct and fearless.
I know, right? There was one reporter who was asking Prabhupada, like, there's so many like people that are so many gurus that say that they're avatars, and this avatar and that avatar. And Srila Prabhupada said, and I'm the first to declare that they are all rascals.
He always told it as it is, right? No, never watered anything down. He was the opposite, complete polar opposite of a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it.
And when Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur was writing that no one accepts this Gaur Nagari Bhav conception is complete fabrication, nonsense, and Maya. And you said that that the only ras you can have with Mahaprabhu is dasya ras. But it's a different type of dasya ras. It's not Ashwarya dasya ras. It's not like Lakshmi Narayan. And it's not like Dasyam and Lakshmi Narayan. It's Vishramba Dasyam, intimate servitude. So it's not like it's not servitude in awe and reverence, it's servitude in familiarity, something like that.
Interesting. Wow, that's very nice.
Yeah, Gurudev said it, like Vrishram Brena Guru Seva, intimate service to the Guru. Similarly, it's intimate service to Mahaprabhu.
My friends just sent me a message. That's a really nice point, though. That's a really nice point. The dasyaras is different than what we normally think of dasyaras. Yeah. Also, in Krishna's pastimes, there's dasyaras, and that's not full of, that's not just awe and reverence. That's mixed with so many other feelings. My friends just sent a comment. Srila Prabhupada is not a people pleaser. He is a Krishna pleaser. Yes. To the ultimate degree, he's a Krishna pleaser. And also, we see Srila Prabhupada, his style of speaking and preaching was Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Brighan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, and also Srila Trivikram Goswami Maharaj. They were like kind of the same kind of spirit in their preaching. They were completely. And also Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, also Srila Bhakti Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj, they all had that real, like, they'll say anything to anybody. They didn't give any damn what anybody thought or how it would affect anybody. They would just tell the truth, no matter how cutting and strong it would be. And yeah, that's why they're like lions. Right? Yeah.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
And when we talk,
my Gurudev said my Gurudev said to, I think I already mentioned this before, but my Gurudev said to Padmanabha Maharaj that's why Srila Prabhupada took sannyas from Srila Bhakti Brighan Keshav Goswami Maharaj and not from Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, because they were like completely like in the same exact mood. They were completely connected to each other. They had the same, fighting spirit. They were like that. Yes.
I remember hearing from Padmanabha Maharaj that Gurudev asked the devotees, why did your Guru Maharaj take sannyas from my Guru Maharaj? Like something like, why didn't he take from Sridhar Samraj? And they told him, well, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj told Prabhupada, I cannot give you sannyas. I'm too.
Padmanabha Maharaj told Gurudev. This is Padmanabha Maharaj speaking. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, Sridhar Samraj said that he was too intimately connected with Prabhupada's family, biological family, so he didn't give sannyas. And Gurudev said, no, that's not why he took from my Guru Maharaj. No, He took from my Guru Maharaj because they were bosom friends.
Yes. Yes. Bosom friends. Yeah. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Param Gurudev ki
Jai.
All right. Thanks for that, Kishore. I love these little discussions that you come up with at the end. They're really nice. All right. I'm going to end for now, and I'll see you all from the future, or whatever, the past. Yeah, because I'll pre-record the video. Haribol. I'm just checking if anybody wrote any comments. No. Okay. Oh, thanks, Indira Mataji.